Well, welcome back. Lori Horton joins us in the studio to teach us how to make a no-bake blueberry dream dessert. It looks fantastic. Good morning, Lori. Happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to be back on a nice Monday for a change.
Yes.
This is going to be a really great dessert this morning, perfect for our Easter dinners that are probably coming up this weekend, right? The thing we always have, you've got a big group over, you run out of oven space. This one's no bake, and it actually is best if you do it the day before.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
It's going to be one you can get out of the way Friday or Saturday, pop it in the back of the fridge and kind of forget about it and have one thing marked off of your list, right?
Always nice.
Super simple. This is a 9x9 pan.
Okay.
So when you go back and you check out this recipe later on komnewsnow.com, you're going to find it says 8 or 9 inch pan. The main thing to remember is you need a deeper one.
Right.
A lot of our little basic 8x8 ones we have are like 1 inch and 7/8, pretty short.
Yeah, you want pretty tall.
And if you'll notice our finished one here, this really fills it up in the 9 inch pan. So make sure you've got a deep one. That's really important.
Yes.
All I've got in my bowl here to start with is a stick of melted butter.
Okay.
And you can use a little less than a whole stick. I just went ahead and melted an entire stick, and then I added a little bit more of our graham cracker crumbs that it called for to compensate, because I like a nice sturdy thick crust on there.
Delicious.
I'm just going to take a fork and kind of blend this together a little bit with some sugar, just plain old white sugar, and then dump that in with my melted butter. And this is just going to make that crust. We don't have to, again, bake this or do anything else to it. We just want to mix it together and kind of make a nice sort of wet sand consistency.
That's the consistency we're looking for, wet sand.
We do that a lot with these baked bottom desserts. That's a lovely food sort of a consistency, but you know, you go with what you know, right? And just get that all blended together. Lightly mix that graham cracker mix so that it's just kind of all incorporated, because what we're going to do is just pat this nice and firm in the bottom of our pan. It'll make a nice even layer that then once we refrigerate this and it sets up and that butter kind of solidifies again, it'll actually make it pretty easy to kind of cut and take your pieces out without
I can see that right there. It's
extremely
real
messy.
clean.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. You could actually take a spatula and cut nice square pieces out of that.
Delicious.
And you can do this in a glass pan or a metal pan. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
Again, one less thing to wash when you have a sink full of dishes after a dinner. I think this is perfect, and it makes it nice where you can send it home with somebody if you want to. You don't have to worry about getting that pan back. So we'll spread this in here, and this is where your handy dandy little flat bottom measuring cup comes in. This is my guy. This is my go-to guy. We all have that one tool that's a useless tool, but he's fine for a measuring cup. But it really works well to pat the bottom of a pan when I have something like that, because he fits into those corners. And it's really flat on the bottom. Some of your measuring cups have a rounded edge.
Yes.
So this guy works great.
Wonderful.
And we want to pat it down nice and firm, because again, that's what's going to make it easy to cut later on. Get that butter really compact in there. And we'll make a nice even layer. So when we come back, we're going to go through the rest of the layers, because this again is just a really nice layered dessert. It's going to give us some nice fresh spring flavors and something that's going to be a little different than the pies and the things that everybody else will bring.
Perfect for Easter.
Absolutely.
All right, sounds like a plan, Lori. Thanks so much. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Lori Horton started to show us her recipe for a no-bake blueberry dream dessert. Now, we made our first delicious layer, but we got a few more.
We've got a few more. We started out with that really simple graham cracker crust. Nothing complicated there, just melted butter, some crushed graham crackers, or you can cheat like I did and buy the pre-made crumbs, which is a huge time saver. And a little bit of sugar, believe it or not. Even though our graham crackers are really nice and sweet, you need just that little bit extra in there. We patted that down nicely in the crust, and that's really set well. So you don't really have to give it any time between layers, but we have had a little bit, so it's definitely ready to layer on up with the next thing.
Wonderful.
And we're just starting with another Cool Whip layer here. And this is, you could do a lot of different things with this. You could make this a cheesecake layer, you could make it just a fluffy layer, but we're going to mix a little bit of Cool Whip with a box of pudding. And this is instant pudding.
Okay.
Make sure it's the instant, not the cook and serve. There is a huge difference. And I've used lemon because I love the lemon and blueberry combination.
Like classic spring. Yes,
so
good.
So light. And you know, when you do have a nice big Easter dinner and you've got that big meal, it's just a really fresh, crisp dessert for that. But you could certainly do vanilla, French vanilla.
Okay, sure.
You know, anything with that. And you could change up the layer that we're going to do next of our pie filling to whatever flavor you love. So French vanilla with peach is amazing.
Delicious.
You could do a regular vanilla with a strawberry layer or a cherry layer. Really just whatever is your family's kind of favorite there. But we just kind of figured, you know, for Easter, for spring, this lemon blueberry is a really good combination on that. So you're just going to mix it well. You don't want to beat it. You don't really need to get the mixer out for this step. You just want to give that a minute for that pudding mixture to get sort of incorporated and dissolved into that Cool Whip. So you want to keep it light and fluffy. And if you overdo it a little bit, you can add a little bit of whipping cream, excuse me, or even milk to kind of cream it back up a little bit if you go a little too far.
Now, does this need to set before we do our next step?
No,
or just keep layering on?
You're just going to keep layering. It makes this really simple. And this is one of those recipes for you guys that are watching along with us at home. We started out in the 6 o'clock hour with about 3 minutes worth of work. We're doing about another 3 minutes worth of work and one more. So I haven't really done any extra steps in between these processes. So this is about 10 minutes from start to pop it in the fridge. You do want to chill it before you serve. You can do, again, overnight is ideal.
Okay, yes.
And that just saves you time that meal prep day. Or if you're going to, you know, your parents' house, your grandparents' house, neighbor, whatever, you know, it just kind of takes one thing off of the list the day you're getting ready. So we're going to spread this really nice and evenly. And when we come back, we're going to go on to our final layers that are just going to really cream that up and make it amazing.
Looks great. All right, Lori, thanks. Stick around. We'll be right back. Well, here we are, and Lori has been showing us her last few steps for her no-bake blueberry dream dessert. Now we're on the final steps. It already looks so good.
I know. I mean, you can just stop here.
You
don't have to go any further. It's amazing. But we're going to go ahead and add our fruit layer next. And as we said, we don't really have to let this set or anything. It's good. But obviously you're not going to overmix or overspread on these. So the next thing up is just a can of whatever kind of pie filling is your favorite. Delicious. You can, of course, make this from scratch if you want to. That is perfectly fine. But this lemon layer that we put in, that's our lemon and Cool Whip, is going to go so well with blueberry. And we want to make sure you get all of that goodness out of that can. Never scrimp on that. And then, like I said, just be very gentle when you kind of spread that out. But you want to get it fully covered, and it's just the perfect amount. This is just a 9x9 pan. As I mentioned in the beginning, you want to make sure that it's a really nice deep pan, and this is a little bit more than the standard little brownie or dessert square pan.
Get really good defined thick layers.
Yeah, and you've got so much to put in it. As you'll see with our final one, it's really layered to the top of that pan, so you got to have that space in there. Don't scrimp on that. And we're going to set that aside. And then our last thing we're going to do is just straight up whip topping. We don't need to mix anything else in with this one. And then, you know, again, just be a little bit gentle when you put that on there. A good spatula helps, but like kind of put these little bits on and then come back and put them together.
Kind of so like that connecting the dots.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like those little scoops of dough and then you bring them together at the end. Same idea. That way you're not having to press quite so much and taking a chance of mixing that together. Especially with the blueberry. That's going to bleed through and look a little heinous if you get some of that on top. So just go to the edges on that. Make it look nice and pretty. Be careful. Come back and wipe those edges clean if you get a little bit on there. And then the final step is to kind of make it look cute. And since it is Easter, we want to make sure we've got something that's perfect to take to someone's house, or, you know, just for everybody coming over to yours if you're the host. And so we've got some blueberries to put on top. I apparently bought the mutant giant blueberries. I have to give a shout out to my Dillon's store in Pittsburgh for colossal blueberries. I did not even know that was a thing. So I'm going to take some of my blueberries and get a little cutesy here and bring them around into a shape of a little bunny for my Easter cake here. And then of course you can come back, add some graham cracker crumbs. I would even recommend a little sliver of some lemon zest on the top.
Oh, that would be delicious.
Because that way they're going to know that there's that lemon flavor inside as well. So you just have to be a little bit fun with that. Let the kids come in, because this is something no bake, no oven.
And the layers are like,
they
look so good.
So
yes,
nicely.
I'm going to take a bite of this.
If you do this the night before and really let that chill and set, it cuts nicely. It's easy to serve, and it looks beautiful.
Looks beautiful. Well, as always, Lori, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We'll, of course, have this recipe later on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.